from Deep River stands the test of time because it captures a moment in time, which is Thailand and Burma in the early 70s. There's something very, very authentic about the movie. When you think of these jungle films or jungle cannibal films, a lot of the times you think of them as grim and in cages. And this film, while it was really more of an adventure movie, very similar to Sergio Martino's Mountain of the Cannibal God, it's a very, very beautiful film. And what you see is the real Thailand at that time. You know, you can tell that Lenzi was just going there and grabbing the local people, the local extras. I was in Thailand recently, and there are parts of Thailand that still look like that and still feel like that. But the film has a real timeless quality because of it. You see Ivan Rasimov, this kind of young, handsome man, as a photographer exploring the world, and they're right on the edge of civilization. They're just at the point where, you know, this is the last vestiges of civilized man, and you're going out into the jungle to meet with these tribes. There's a warning. There's a warning at the beginning of the film that says, you know, everything that they did was real. And having read about some of the native tribal rituals, I completely believe that. You know, there's one ritual where he's tied up and spun around, and they paint him with triangles and blow darts at him. All the different things you do to become, a member of the tribe. And all of that stuff seems very well researched. I mean, based on the research that I've done, in the Green Inferno, a lot of the rituals were absolutely real. We looked at different tribes and the way they treated invaders and the process by which they killed people in specific orders of how they did things. We looked at the ovens. So, one of the things that I think works about the film is that it does feel very authentic. Even though the story is fictional, all the tribal rituals feel very real, and it's fascinating to see. Do you feel like there aren't really places like that in the world anymore? There's very, very few spots where there's uncontacted man, and even that has been contacted. We're at the edge of civilization now. You can go on treehugger.com and see iPhone footage of people seeing uncontacted tribes, and the satellites have got them all. So there really are no more places in the world left where people have been completely uncontacted by modern man. So it's just interesting to see that. And the iconography, the statues, the makeup, the look, even the physical makeup of the nativos, they don't look like they do in Peru or Brazil or Colombia. If you look at the villagers that we used in the Green Inferno, they have a very different look from the villagers that are there, and there's something really special about Man from Deep River, is that it is in Thailand, in Burma, and it's a very, very, very beautiful part of the world, but very different kind of landscape. The foliage is different, the rivers are different, the people look different, the customs are different, the gods that they worship or pray to, the rituals are different, and these jungle movies, typically when you think of Eaten Alive or even Cannibal Ferox or Cannibal Holocaust, they're very much in the jungle, in the trees, but the movie looks and feels different. When they're escaping, you're looking at the green thick, the green inferno that they say at the beginning of Cannibal Holocaust, that green Colombian jungle. It doesn't look and feel like the lush the villages in Thailand. Thailand is where I went on my honeymoon, and it looks very much like it does in the movie. But it's beautiful, it's cool. People think of Thailand, people think of Colombia and the jungle as something more dangerous and more wild, and Thailand is a place that's very exotic, where people go on vacations and honeymoons. I mean, I know I certainly did. But that's what I think makes Man from Deep River so special, is that it really looks different. The birds are different, the animals are different, the foliage, the scenes of Ivan Rasimov and Mimi Lai running through the villages, and maybe that's what makes the cannibalism so shocking. When you see cannibalism in Cannibal Holocaust or Cannibal Ferox or any of those things deep in the jungles of Brazil or Peru, it's shocking, but there's a part of your brain that goes, yeah, I bet somebody does that. They're so remote, I bet that's what happens there. And when you see it in Thailand, we so associate it with tourism that it's actually even more disconcerting. When you're seeing that happen there, you're like, that's not supposed to happen in Thailand. That's where we're going on vacation. So there's something, I think it's one of the things that's so special. The first 10 minutes of the movie, if you look at the first 10 minutes of Cannibal Ferox, that the first hotel they go to, that's where the crew stayed. That airport that they landed at, that's everywhere they shot, the crew was living in. It wasn't like they went there for a day. That was where they were living. And that was the same in Green Inferno. The same boats that are in the movie are the boats that we used to travel to the village. Everyone going to the village by boat was how we got there. And there's something great about that in Man from Deep River. The opening in Thailand is beautiful and fun, and you feel like the crew had this amazing adventure. Then, of course, They get a little Muay Thai boxing, which is really cool. You don't see them diving into the local culture that way. And of course, Muay Thai is hugely popular now, but that's a pretty cool scene to do in 1972 when they shot this film. It gets the crime element. Umberto Lenzi is always interested in the seedy underbelly of society, and he loves mafia bosses, and he loves crime, so he starts it with gambling and crime and this really seedy guy looking at the blonde girl and following her, and then pulling the knife on Bradley, and then Bradley stabbing him, and the police looking for him on a train, and that fantastic train going over that overpass that you just feel like it's about to break down at any second and go over the cliff. There's a really, it's a fantastic crime story for the first 10 minutes of the film. And then, he's a photographer, so you really see the beauty of the area, and in the boat, and, the boy who's playing the music, and he's talking about London, and then he's captured and taken in by the tribe. But what's great is they hold him up there, he sees them cutting the tongues, it's this incredible process of this person giving up all the vestiges of civilization, to learn to, he's sort of reborn as a member of this tribe, and he really starts to care about them and learns their language and falls in love and has a baby and realizes that he can't go back. Once he has crossed that threshold and become part of the tribe, he has no interest in returning. This now is his civilization, and he knows he can help them. So I think it's special, I feel like it would be harder to find to make a movie with someone in the jungle in Brazil and Peru. It's so different, and it's so difficult that it would be hard to believe that someone would actually voluntarily stay there. But there's something about that jungle in Thailand and those people, and of course all the women are beautiful and naked all the time. It's hard to convince them not to stay. One of the great things about Umberto Lenzi movies is that they start right away. There's no slow burn or slow build up. They always start with a great set piece, an action scene or a kill. But with like Milano Rovente, there's so many Lenzi movies, whether it's Nightmare City or Man from Deep River. He is a fantastic, fantastic storyteller and someone who really embraces the genre he's telling the story in. So, Man from Deep River has this incredible photography and beautiful shots. I mean, it's one of the most beautifully photographed movies. And the way he used the camera and the tracking shots and the love story, it's really a beautiful love story between this man from London and this woman from this village, and how they fall in love and how he sort of leaves everything behind to become someone who can help, rebuild the village, and you feel like ultimately he will become the leader of the village. I think Lenzi's a really special director. I think the guy really moves the camera. He really understands photography, tension. His battle sequences are fantastic. And the cannibalism in this movie is very disturbing. It's one of the great things about the movie is that the cannibalism in Man from Deep River is probably 2 minutes of the movie, but it's the strongest image in the film. The way that naked girl is there and her leg is chopped off and they're just eating her raw, it's so simple and so matter of fact that it's unnerving. There's something incredibly disconcerting because it's not close-up of guts being pulled out and flesh being chewed, just the way they're sitting there eating and kind of seeing it from afar from Bradley's point of view. It's one of those images that if you see the movie once, that's the image that will stay with you. That maybe Rasimov spinning while they're shooting the darts at him, but really the image of the people eating that girl, it's uncomfortable. And I think that Lenzi he's a really, really amazing director and a completely underrated director. He's one of these guys that worked nonstop. To be a director in Italy at this time, you had to make 5 or 6 movies a year, and you would shoot them with the actors speaking in English, knowing they were going to be redubbed, and they would try to sell it in the international marketplace as if it was an American movie, so the directors would change their names. So a lot of the reason these guys don't get the credit they deserve is because in order for their films to travel, they had to assimilate themselves. They had to change their name. So it's kind of unthinkable now that a foreign director would change their name to blend in the marketplace in America, but that's how it was done at the time. And I think a lot of these guys, Ruggero Deodato, Umberto Lenzi, Sergio Martino, these guys had careers in the US because they changed their names, and the very thing that got sacrificed is the credit that they deserve as incredible craftsmen and artists. I love these movies because I feel like it's a lost form of cinema in a way. I think that movies today are pretty much made in a green screen, and yes, there are directors like Iñárritu that are going out there in the wilderness and making them, but I wanted to make a film that looked and felt more dangerous than any other movie that was made. I wanted a movie that people watched for years and years and going, how the hell did they do this? And not with special effects, but with just sheer insanity. Going to the most remote location you can find, getting all these people to dress up and make this movie with the blood and the guts and the gore. And it was amazing. We all survived. There was actually a landslide 2 days after we left, and people were trapped in the village for 6 weeks. People drown all the time from that village going in rivers. It's very dangerous to live out there. But it's also very beautiful and very peaceful, and you completely disconnect in a way you can't when you're in modern society. When you're out there and you have no cell phone and there's no electricity, you're forced to interact with other people. It reminds you of what it used to be like. And there was something incredibly beautiful about that. I really wanted to make a movie that was a nod to the old Italian films. Lenzi, Deodato, Sergio Martino, Michele Massimo Tarantini did a great one called Massacre in Dinosaur Valley. It's fun to go back and rewatch these old movies. You know, I want people to watch The Green Inferno and go, oh, I listed all of them in the credits, that people would go back and rediscover them. Because I feel that these films deserve a second look, and that there is a reason why people are still talking about them 40 years later. You know, that's what's cool about it, is that they may have gotten trashed by the critics at the time. People can say they're garbage, but you know what? Nobody remembers what was Best Picture in 1972, or 1976, or 1977, or 1980, but everybody's still talking about Man from Deep River, Cannibal Ferox, Cannibal Holocaust, Last Cannibal World. I mean, I still am, but in general, fans still are. So I think time is the ultimate critic, and I think it's great that, you know, there are releases like this that are remastering them so that, you know, I can get to see them the way they were originally intended, because they're really, really incredible, ballsy films, and I just don't think people make them like that anymore.